The 7 deadly sins: pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. Pride, the sin of excessive self-esteem and arrogance, is not uncommon in leadership. One of the most prominent examples is President Andrew Jackson. Known for his fiery personality and strong sense of self, Jackson's pride was evident in many of his decisions. His assertive stance in the Battle of New Orleans and his forceful policies towards Native Americans reflected a leader who believed he was always right. Jackson's pride was not merely personal. It shaped his presidency. His fierce determination to implement his vision, regardless of opposition, led to significant policy changes, such as the controversial Indian Removal Act. This act, driven by his belief in his own vision of progress, resulted in the forced relocation and suffering of thousands of Native Americans. Jackson's pride, while fueling his strong leadership, also left a legacy marked by both achievements and deep controversies. Greed, the excessive desire for wealth and power, can have a profound impact on leadership. President Ulysses S. Grant's administration provides a striking example. During Grant's presidency, the administration was marred by scandals, including the notorious credit mobilier scandal. This scandal involved the misuse of funds and corruption within the railroad industry, revealing the deep-seated greed among some of Grant's closest associates. While Grant himself was not directly involved in the scandal, the environment of greed and corruption that tainted his presidency reflected poorly on his administration. The impact of this greed was significant, contributing to a lack of trust in government and casting a long shadow over Grant's otherwise notable achievements as a Union general during the Civil War. Grant's presidency, thus, became a reminder of how greed can undermine public trust and tarnish a leader's legacy. Wrath, characterized by intense anger and a desire for vengeance, can dramatically affect a leader's decisions and relationships. President Richard Nixon's presidency offers a clear example of how wrath can lead to significant consequences. The Watergate scandal, a result of Nixon's wrathful response to political opposition, highlighted how his anger led to illegal activities and a cover-up attempt. Nixon's wrath was evident in his aggressive stance against perceived enemies and his willingness to undermine democratic norms to protect himself. The fallout from Watergate not only led to Nixon's resignation, but also damaged public trust in the presidency and government institutions. Nixon's wrath, though driven by a desire to maintain power, ultimately eroded his credibility and left a lasting impact on American politics. Envy, or the desire to have what others possess, can drive leaders to make questionable decisions. President Thomas Jefferson's envy towards the Federalist Party's influence and successes influenced his political maneuvers. Jefferson's envy was particularly evident in his efforts to undermine Federalist policies and challenge their dominance. His decisions, such as the Louisiana Purchase, while beneficial to the country, were also driven by a desire to assert his own vision and diminish the Federalists' influence. Jefferson's envy led him to make bold and sometimes controversial choices that reshaped the nation's political landscape. This envy, while pushing for progress, also showcased how personal feelings can drive significant political changes. Lust, driven by excessive desire or indulgence, can affect a leader's personal life and public perception. President John F. Kennedy's numerous extramarital affairs are a prime example of how lust can impact a presidency. Kennedy's relationships outside of his marriage were well known and contributed to a complex and often scandalous public image. These affairs, while hidden for a time, eventually became a part of the public discourse, affecting Kennedy's legacy. The lustful behavior not only strained personal relationships, but also posed risks to national security, as some of his affairs were with individuals linked to hostile governments. Kennedy's presidency, thus, was marked by a tension between his public role and private indiscretions. Gluttony, characterized by excessive indulgence, can manifest in a leader's lifestyle and decision-making. President William Howard Taft's well-known struggle with obesity provides a clear example of how gluttony can influence a leader's life. Taft's weight, a result of his indulgent eating habits, affected his health and public image. His gluttony was not just a personal issue, but also impacted his effectiveness as a leader, leading to challenges in both his professional and personal life. The public's perception of Taft was shaped by his physical appearance, and his struggles with weight often overshadowed his accomplishments. Taft's gluttony, while personal, had broader implications for how he was viewed as a leader. Sloth, or a lack of action and diligence, can severely impact a leader's effectiveness. President James Buchanan's presidency is a prime example of how sloth can affect national leadership. Buchanan's reluctance to take decisive action during the growing tensions leading up to the Civil War illustrated how his inaction contributed to the nation's descent into conflict. Buchanan's failure to address the secessionist movements and his lack of decisive leadership during this critical period highlighted how sloth can have dire consequences for a country. His presidency, marked by inactivity and poor decision-making, demonstrated how a lack of engagement can exacerbate crises and leave a lasting negative legacy. From pride to sloth, each sin provides a lens through which we can understand the complexities of leadership and the impact of moral weaknesses on a nation's history.